Hey everyone, I'm Stella. Depositor wakes up to find all their money wiped out. A large number of Chinese people suddenly flood into Australia to do one thing. Is even praying illegal? Pastor disappears after refusing to hang the CCP flag. Woman cuffed by ICE while Americans overwhelmingly cheer it on. On the night of October 29, 2025, a shocking piece of news swept across Chinese social media, jolting people wide awake. Countless customers using the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China's mobile app opened it to find their account balances mysteriously wiped out. Savings, funds, investments, all gone. Gold holdings dropped, and credit card and loan data simply vanished. This wasn't a hacker attack on a few unlucky users. It was a large-scale glitch that sent panic rippling through the country. He said, "I was about to pay off my credit card last night, opened the app, and saw my total assets showing zero. My funds and investments all disappeared. I broke out in a cold sweat." The screenshot he posted showed a balance of zero. Every investment and gold product field was completely blank. Another office worker in Nanjing said that after logging in, "My credit card and loan records were all gone. The whole interface looked like it had been reset." Miss Zhang in Beijing recalled checking her company's payroll that evening, only to find her balance of zero. "I thought I'd been hacked and immediately called customer service. But no matter how many times I tried, the line was always busy." She said her heart turned cold. She said, "I was terrified my money was gone, and all I could do was wait." From Shanghai to Guangzhou to Chengdu, screenshots flooded social media showing the same thing. Every time users clicked into financial products or credit card statements, they were met with no data available. Some people said their gold holdings were down by nearly 10%. Others joked, "Every button I tap just says no data. The whole app looks freshly formatted." That night, hashtags like ICBC assets cleared to zero and "Did the bank collapse?" rocketed to the top of Weibo's trending list. Hotlines were jammed, and long lines formed at bank branches. One person admitted, "I know the money's probably still there, but when you see a big fat zero on the screen, your heart just drops." By the next morning, the bank released an official statement confirming that both its mobile and online banking systems had asset data display errors caused by an occasional system malfunction. They assured customers that actual funds were safe and that the issue was purely a front-end display glitch. Most users' data returned to normal later that afternoon, though some were still posting at midnight saying their apps hadn't recovered. Even though no one actually lost money, the incident dealt a serious blow to public trust in China's financial system. As one of the country's largest commercial banks, ICBC reported 588 million mobile banking users by the end of 2024, with 28.5 billion yuan invested in fintech that year and 36,000 employees in that division. Its disaster recovery system, called the Two Locations, Three Centers framework, was even certified at the highest DCMM Level 5 rating. In theory, it's bulletproof, yet somehow this bulletproof system ended up showing every customer a balance of zero. The bank's official notice mentioned system updates and module upgrades 3 times, but for users, that single night of panic left a real and lasting crack in their trust. Technical analysts suggested the incident likely stems from a mismatch between the front-end interface and back-end data synchronization. When the app was updated, the front-end display module failed to account for extreme scenarios, causing users' assets to appear as zero on the screen, even though they still existed in the back-end system. Additionally, there may be gaps in the bank's automatic error checking system, which failed to trigger an immediate alert. Some also believe that the new module wasn't properly tested for compatibility with the old system, leading to data transmission issues. While banks have focused on core system development in the wave of digital transformation, the last mile of user experience has become a weak link. When the public saw their accounts display 0.00 in the moment of this zero balance incident, for many, that zero wasn't just a number. It symbolized a larger question. Is it really safe to keep money here in the country? Against the backdrop of economic downturn, declining financial trust, and rising asset risks, many people view this incident as a potential trigger for a new wave of capital outflow. In the current environment, A trend of capital flowing overseas has quietly accelerated, and Australia's real estate market has become one of the most notable destinations. According to real estate regulatory data from the Australian government, Chinese buyers have significantly increased their investment in Australian residential properties from 2024 to 2025. Despite the Australian government's efforts to set high barriers for foreign buyers, such as additional stamp duties, land taxes, non-resident capital gains taxes, and annual fees for vacant properties, Chinese buyers don't seem to be slowing down. According to data from the Australian Treasury's Foreign Investment Review Board, China became the largest source country for residential real estate investments in Australia during the third quarter of 2024. Even though the Australian government will implement a ban on foreign buyers purchasing existing properties starting April 1, 2025, lasting until March 31, 2027, this brief window before the policy takes effect has become a prime opportunity for many Chinese buyers to act. On Sydney's northern shore, a Shanghai entrepreneur spent around 28.9 million Australian dollars on a waterfront townhouse. Real estate agents reported that the buyer completed the transaction entirely through a lawyer, only visiting at the final stage to personally confirm the property via private jet. The house faces the water, with interior decor featuring Italian marble and custom-made furniture and kitchen equipment costing over $1 million Australian dollars. The way the agent described it, he wasn't here to view the property, he was here to view the future. In Melbourne's affluent Toorak area, property sales have surpassed 135 million Australian dollars in the past 6 months, with most buyers coming from China. One family purchased 3 townhouses in one go, aiming to secure their children's education and prepare for future relocation. An agent remarked, "They didn't just buy real estate, they bought a backup plan to an unknown future." In Sydney's Pippin Point, a waterfront mansion in Altona was sold for 52 million Australian dollars to a businessman from Shandong, setting a record for the area's highest sale price. Another deal saw a Hong Kong buyer purchase a waterfront villa with a private dock in the Sydney Sylvania Waters area for over 7 million Australian dollars. These transactions are breaking records in the Australian market, and the media is once again calling it the return of Chinese buyers. What makes this influx of Chinese buyers distinct is their characteristics. They are spending larger amounts, targeting higher value properties, acting faster, and with clearer motivations. They are typically looking for properties in good school districts, with convenient transportation, and those that can be quickly resold. Many are luxury homes or land. Statistics show that around 20% of inquiries from Chinese buyers are in Queensland and Western Australia. Some Chinese millionaires even fly in private jets with feng shui masters, inspecting homes on-site and checking the feng shui. If the house is on a slope or facing the wrong direction, they walk away on the spot. Analysts suggest that this buying spree isn't just about investment. It's a mix of capital relocation, wealth preservation, and lifestyle choices. First, the rising geopolitical risks globally and within China have heightened anxiety among wealthy families. Second, the long-standing pressure on China's domestic real estate market and the risk of currency depreciation make overseas real estate a more reasonable asset allocation choice. Third, Australia's tight property supply and extremely low vacancy rate, around 1%, are expected to push the market upward. Fourth, Australia's education, environment, and legal system are highly attractive to Chinese families. Many parents say they want their children to have a freer childhood in Australia, away from cram schools, where they aren't chasing 65 to 77 hours of study per week. They want their kids to swim, play soccer, make friends, and grow up without the intense competition. Against this backdrop, buying property has become a psychological move. For these buyers, purchasing a home isn't about moving in right away. It's about having a backup plan in case things go wrong. They are setting up a second home in Australia, leaving a path open for their children's future. All of this points to one undeniable truth. When the domestic system, financial security, and education become uncertain, people's choices tend to lean towards escape. And this escape is increasingly pointing overseas. According to BBC reports, in October 2025, a crackdown targeting the Zion Church was underway. Founded in 2007 by Pastor Jin Ming Ri, also known as Ezra Jin, this underground church began in Beijing, expanded to over 40 cities, and had more than 10,000 followers. It was labeled an illegal organization by the authorities for refusing to join the government-controlled Three Self Patriotic Movement Church. The government launched synchronized arrests in at least 10 cities, citing illegal use of the internet as the reason. Dozens of people were detained, including church leaders. Pastor Qin Mingyue, born in 1969 in Heilongjiang, studied at Peking University in his youth. The suppression of the 1989 student protest became a turning point in his life. His daughter recalled, "That was a pivotal moment. He had believed in the country all his life, but when that faith was betrayed, his entire worldview shattered." Afterward, Jin went to the US to study theology and returned to China in 2007 to establish the Zion Church. He refused to hang the national flag in the church, rejected government surveillance cameras, and emphasized soul freedom and religious independence. Starting in 2018, the church was forced to switch to online and small group gatherings, continuing to grow. In the autumn of 2025, the crackdown escalated. Books, Bibles, and computers were confiscated, and several meeting points were sealed. The church members stated, "We are not anti-government, we just want to pray quietly," but now even prayer has become a threat. Amid financial instability and the shrinking space for faith, two escape routes are becoming apparent. One is capital fleeing overseas, and the other is faith either being forced to shift or remain silent. When financial accounts can suddenly show zero, when real estate becomes a safe haven abroad, and when church leaders are detained, a broader social psychology is forming. Trust fractures are widening. Economist Wang Duran pointed out that the overseas home buying wave has surpassed investment logic, reflecting deep distrust in the Chinese Communist Party system. He said, "When the three pillars of a society, wealth, institutions, and faith, are simultaneously shaken, people will search for an exit with their feet and their souls." When Chinese people rush to buy luxury homes in Australia on private jets, the economic trust in the CCP is collapsing. The flight of both capital and people is not just a matter of wealth allocation, but a signal of the breakdown of the trust system. Let's turn our attention to a shocking scene that recently unfolded at the Salt Lake City International Airport in Utah, USA. On the afternoon of October 30, a middle-aged woman from El Salvador was suddenly tackled to the ground by several plainclothes agents in front of a boarding gate. Her hands were cuffed behind her back, and she was forcibly dragged away. The woman screamed loudly, "Help! I have documents! Please help me!" Her cries caught the attention of nearby travelers, many of whom were unsure of what was happening. The footage of the incident was captured by American author Shannon Hale, who uploaded it to social media, sparking widespread debate. The woman in the video was later identified as Marta Briseida Renderos Leiva, 39, from El Salvador. The footage shows her being subdued by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, struggling, kicking, crying, and possibly calling out her child's name. Some bystanders attempted to approach and ask what was going on, but they were stopped by the agents. Hale, the photographer, later recalled, "She kept shouting, 'I have documents,' but no one could get close. She looked both scared and desperate. I could only stand there and record everything." According to the Salt Lake City police, they initially thought it was a routine conflict when they received the call, but upon arriving, they realized the arrest was being carried out by federal law enforcement, so they withdrew. They emphasized that local police were not involved in the arrest. The next day, ICE released a statement confirming it was a targeted enforcement operation. Official records showed that Leiva entered the U.S. illegally in 2007 and had been living without documentation ever since. In 2020, she was issued a failure to appear deportation order after missing an immigration court hearing. Authorities did not disclose why she was at the airport or whether she had a lawyer or family members with her. ICE only stated that she is currently in custody awaiting further proceedings and may face deportation back to El Salvador. Although some advocacy groups criticized ICE for choosing to arrest her in a public place, accusing them of creating fear and humiliation, an immigration attorney also expressed concern, saying, "Even if she had a deportation order, that doesn't mean she should have been dragged through the airport in front of a crowd. This scene wasn't about necessary enforcement. It was about making an example of her." However, in the mainstream public discourse, the reaction to this incident has been strikingly different. Many Americans were not shocked by what happened. On the contrary, in the comment sections of major news websites and social media, the voices supporting ICE's actions were overwhelmingly heavy-handed. One of the most liked comments read, Illegal immigrants should go back to their home country or accept help to return. It's their choice. We're fed up with these invaders. Another popular comment stated, she had a deportation order in 2020. This is just the law being enforced, nothing to debate. These comments received thousands of likes, while opposing voices were few and far between. This shows that the general stance in American society regarding illegal immigration is increasingly tilting towards enforcing the law and maintaining order. In the past, the U.S. government had a relatively lenient policy on illegal immigration, providing numerous social benefits and public resources. But who pays for this? It's the hardworking taxpayers and law-abiding U.S. citizens and legal residents. Is this really fair to them? As one netizen put it, we're not against humanitarianism, we're against the distortion and abuse of it. China's new gold tax shocks the market. China's marriage blitz to boost birth rates. China's terrifying housing trap. Indonesia halts Chinese glass elevator construction. Shein faces big trouble in France. At the start of November, China's Ministry of Finance and the State Taxation Administration suddenly rolled out a new rule. From now on, anyone buying gold through non-exchange channels, like physical gold shops or online platforms, will have to pay higher taxes. Simply put, gold just got more expensive, and hoarding it no longer makes sense. The moment the announcement dropped, the gold market went wild. Gold stores across the country shut their doors, and online platforms pulled gold bars off their shelves. Just that morning, a gold bar was selling for 928 yuan per gram. By afternoon, the price shot up to 1,050 yuan. By evening, screenshots showed the price had jumped to over 1,200 yuan. Mr. Chen, an investor from Hangzhou, said, I was thinking of buying 10 grams in the morning, but by evening, it was all gone. This wasn't just market fluctuation. It was a reaction fueled by fear. In a time of economic slowdown, a weak housing market, and a stock market that's a disaster, gold has almost become the last safe haven for Chinese people. It's not in banks, not on platforms, and definitely not in the digital world. It's in your hand, solid, heavy, and reassuring. For many, it's more than just metal. It's a sense of control and the last card to play in an uncertain world. But now, even that safety net is being taxed. According to Citibank's analysis, the new policy will reduce jewelers' tax deductions from 13% to 6%. That means businesses will see their costs rise by about 7% and their profits will shrink by 20%. The result? Gold prices are likely to keep rising, and for ordinary people, buying gold for preservation just became more expensive. Many netizens are sighing, saying, we used to worry about inflation, now we worry about taxes. We trusted banks, now we trust gold, but now we don't even trust gold. At times like this, the significance of taxes goes beyond economics. It's not just about government finances. It feels like a form of predatory governance. When the government taxes the last bit of trust people have left, their gold, this isn't just about rising prices. It's about the breakdown of social trust. This gold event has people rethinking what security really means. What can we trust? Money in the bank can be frozen, financial products can explode, real estate projects get stalled, and now even gold bars are being taxed. When you can't trust anything, maybe the only thing you can trust is not trusting at all. At the start of 2025, the Chinese government announced a groundbreaking policy. Marriage and fertility rates will now be part of local government's performance evaluations. In other words, the more people get married and have children, the faster the local officials move up the ranks. And so, a nationwide marriage push began. From Zhejiang to Hubei, government departments started what seemed like a marriage clearance sale. In cities like Ningbo, Jiaxing, Hangzhou, Shaoxing, and Jinhua, couples who registered for marriage could receive vouchers worth 800 to 1,000 yuan. These could be spent on things like wedding photography, hotel stays, honeymoons, or even marriage counseling. Ningbo's slogan was, get married and get a 1,000 yuan voucher, making love more ceremonial. Jiaxing's was even more direct. Marriage has subsidies, happiness doubled. It sounds romantic and practical, but netizens weren't impressed. Some said, it's not the 1,000 yuan we're missing, it's confidence in the future. Others joked, this money can't even buy a wedding ring. A few even called it out for what it really was. This isn't about encouraging marriage, it's about stimulating consumption. The anxiety behind these policies is obvious. It's not about whether people will be happy, it's about keeping the economy running. Marriage means spending money, buying houses, cars, holding banquets, doing renovations, and going on trips. A whole industry chain gets activated. In Tianmen City, Hubei, they took it even further with epic subsidies. They announced that getting married would come with a 59,000 yuan housing subsidy, and families with a second child would get 800 yuan a month, with an additional 1,000 yuan for a third child, continuing until the child turns 3. Local officials even personally called pregnant women to encourage them to let their child become a Tianmen citizen. This city, once a strict model for family planning, has now become a model for encouraging birth. One teacher said, "Before, having more kids meant fines. Now, not having kids means questions." But the more aggressive the policies, the colder the response from young people. They know that marriage isn't a transaction. Happiness isn't something you can subsidize. What really scares them isn't the cost of getting married, but the uncertainty of the future. High housing prices, low wages, educational anxiety, and healthcare burdens. When life itself feels like it's crushing them, who has the energy to think about falling in love? The government is trying to use money to encourage marriage, but some people are using that very money to set up terrifying housing traps. In the coastal city of Weihai, Shandong, a 36-year-old woman stood on the 11th floor of a building, crying out, "I don't want this house, I just want my money back." She wasn't trying to end her life. She was desperate, with no way out but to risk everything to get back what she had lost. That house was the dream home she had bought with her lover, but it turned out to be a trap carefully set up to deceive her. In recent years, Weihai has become synonymous with love traps. Dozens of divorced women from all over the country have fallen for the same scam. They met a perfect man, someone claiming to be widowed, wealthy, cultured, and romantic. He'd take them to see the sea and say, "It's so peaceful here, we can live here when we're old." Then he'd suggest, "Let's buy a house together. I'll pay half, and we'll put it in your name." 47-year-old Wu Chuanli was one of those women. She worked in foreign trade, and after 2 failed marriages, she met Zhang Shaokang, a gentle, experienced man. He told her his wife had died and he was raising his daughter alone. She was moved to tears. 2 months later, she was in Weihai, enjoying the sun and walking hand in hand with him. He said, "Let's buy a house. I'll pay half and we'll put it in your name. We'll be a family." At that moment, she thought fate had finally smiled on her. 6 months later, she realized she had been scammed. This man was juggling 3 relationships at once, using different WeChat accounts to deceive different women. Each woman was convinced to buy a house, with the prices inflated by the real estate agents. It turned out there was a whole network behind the scam. Real estate developers, agents, drivers, and even coffee shop owners who took a cut. If they could close a deal with an out-of-town woman, they earned thousands of yuan. When she reported the crime to the police, they said there's not enough evidence to charge him with fraud. Their reasoning? She bought it voluntarily. The love was fake, the contract was real, but the responsibility was entirely hers. She cried, saying, "I wasn't just deceived out of money, I was deceived out of trust." This isn't just the tragedy of a few women. It reflects a deep sickness in society. When market trust collapses, when moral boundaries become blurred, and when even love is reduced to a business transaction, what is left that we can trust? As trust crumbles within China, the world is witnessing the collapse of its credibility. In Bali, Indonesia, a glass elevator built by the Chinese company Kaishi Group was meant to be a new tourist attraction. Instead, it has become the subject of ridicule. Located on the towering T-Rex cliff by the mystical beach, the elevator stands 200 meters high, advertised as the new landmark of Bali. It connects the cliff top to the beach below, offering a ticket price of 100 yuan, along with an aerial cafe, restaurant, and glass viewing platform. The local county mayor even attended the groundbreaking ceremony, boasting that it would boost tourism. But in September, as the elevator tower neared completion, protests erupted. Residents and tourists condemned the project as an insult to nature. One visitor said, "We came here to see the sea, not to take an elevator." Indonesian Senator Nilu Jelantik strongly opposed the elevator, saying, "Even if you give me $1 billion, I wouldn't ride that elevator. The beauty of the mystical beach is in the effort you put in to experience it, not buying a shortcut." After an investigation by the Bali governor, it was revealed that Kaishi Group had failed to submit complete documentation and had exceeded the approved construction boundaries. As a result, the project was halted. The media labeled it an outsider company ruining a sacred place, and hinted that this was another example of China's poorly built infrastructure. Many Indonesians angrily said, "We don't trust things built by China. We won't ride that elevator." This isn't an isolated incident. From Laos's dams, Cambodia's highways, to Malaysia's forest city, Chinese companies in Southeast Asia have faced numerous problems: substandard materials, unpaid wages, and environmental damage. China's intention to export its infrastructure image has instead led to the export of distrust. This is not just an engineering problem, it's a cultural one. A system that has lost its integrity domestically cannot earn respect abroad. The glass elevator in Bali, meant to showcase Chinese technology, has instead become proof of global skepticism. Looking back, gold, marriage, love, and engineering, four seemingly unrelated areas, connect to form a real reflection of contemporary China. People no longer trust money because wealth is being harvested. They no longer trust marriage because it is manipulated by policies. They no longer trust love because it is controlled by the market. And the world no longer trusts China because its integrity shattered long ago. After trust disappears, what remains is indifference and fear. Everyone is building walls for themselves, some hoarding gold, others escaping marriage, some emigrating, and some staying silent. The entire society feels like a city trapped under glass, shiny on the outside, suffocating on the inside. The woman crying on the rooftop in Weihai, shouting, "I don't want this house," may understand better than anyone else. She's not trying to die, she just wants to live with dignity. When love, property, and money become traps, all hope is lost. Air fryers, those nifty little kitchen gadgets, have become a must-have in many homes in recent years, but a shocking story just broke in the UK that could change how we view these appliances. A seemingly ordinary Chinese-made air fryer has been exposed for possibly eavesdropping on users, collecting sensitive data, and uploading it to TikTok servers. What started as a simple kitchen appliance now seems to have some serious security issues. It turns out, this air fryer might not just be cooking your fries, it could be listening in on your conversations and tracking every tap on your phone. This goes way beyond kitchen gossip and raises serious questions about privacy and national security. According to The Guardian, a consumer protection group called Which in London found that two popular Chinese-made air fryers from brands iGostar and Xiaomi have apps that secretly access very sensitive data from users. These apps ask for permission to track your location and even access your calls and recordings without fully disclosing what they're doing with that data. But wait, it gets worse. Investigators found that this data is sent to TikTok and other Chinese company servers, posing a huge risk of a data breach. The report highlights a scary fact. These apps have a setting that allows data sharing with third parties, but it doesn't say who those third parties are or where the data goes. The consumer group called it a serious violation of privacy, noting that many Chinese-made smart devices have questionable data protection practices. In response, the UK Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, is set to introduce new data protection rules next spring. These rules will require companies to clearly explain why they collect, store, and use customer data, and companies that break the rules could face hefty fines. These new regulations will apply not only to UK-based companies, but also to overseas manufacturers, including Chinese companies. So, if you're selling a smart appliance with internet functionality in the UK, you'd better be ready to follow the rules. But the alarm bells don't just ring for kitchen gadgets. In South Korea, there have been growing reports of Chinese-made electronics being hacked, leading to data leaks. Thousands of cheap Chinese IP cameras in homes were compromised, and private footage was sold on encrypted platforms like Telegram, some of it even showing intimate moments. Needless to say, this sparked a lot of fear. Back in 2019, the US government discovered that Chinese-made surveillance cameras were installed at military and energy facilities, Air Force bases, and naval ships. The Department of Defense banned Chinese brands like Hikvision and Dahua due to suspicious data transmission modules that were thought to be sending footage back to China. Then, 2 years later, Taiwan uncovered a similar issue where Chinese cameras were transmitting footage of private homes back to Chinese servers. These incidents have made governments in Asia more aware of the risks posed by Chinese-made smart surveillance. It's not just a business issue, it's a potential national security threat. In response, South Korea has started replacing Chinese surveillance equipment in police stations and transportation facilities with products from domestic or Western manufacturers. Taiwan has issued a ban on government agencies using Chinese surveillance and communication devices. Meanwhile, in Europe, the UK, Australia, and the Netherlands are gradually replacing all Chinese-made security products to prevent potential intelligence breaches. It's safe to say the air fryer might not be the only thing to watch out for in the kitchen anymore. While countries are becoming increasingly aware of security risks, a major transportation safety crisis has emerged in Norway's capital, Oslo, and guess what? It's linked to Made in China. During a routine inspection, Oslo's public transportation company, Ruter, found something unsettling inside their fleet of electric buses. Several buses made by Chinese manufacturer Yutong were discovered to have hidden SIM card modules. These modules could remotely transmit vehicle data and were equipped with over-the-air updates and remote diagnostics features. In theory, this could allow manufacturers from thousands of miles away to remotely shut down or control these vehicles with the click of a button. According to the Associated Press, Ruter's technicians traced these SIM cards back to a Romanian company, but the communication channels linked to Chinese servers. Meanwhile, European-made electric buses don't have these remote control modules. After this information surfaced, Ruter immediately ordered the removal of the SIM cards and cut off all internet connections for the Chinese-made buses, launching a full security review. Yutong responded, claiming that all data is stored in Frankfurt, Germany, on Amazon AWS servers for vehicle maintenance and performance optimization, and that everything complies with EU law with no security risk. But European media and security experts aren't buying it. The Guardian pointed out that even if data is stored on European servers, Chinese companies must comply with China's national intelligence law, which mandates that they cooperate, support, and assist national intelligence efforts. In other words, if the Chinese government requests it, these companies could be obligated to hand over the data. The news quickly caught the attention of governments across Europe. Denmark's transport authorities announced that they would accelerate safety reviews of the 469 Chinese-made electric buses in the country, evaluating whether they should be temporarily suspended. Danish Member of Parliament Thomas Roden criticized Denmark's slow reaction to security concerns with Chinese tech products, warning, "While we're trying to counter Russia's hybrid warfare, we've inadvertently let China control our urban transportation systems. This is not a wise move." This issue is now spreading across the Nordic countries. Ståle Ulriksen, a national security expert at Norway's Naval Academy, criticized the government's naivety, stating, "I cannot comprehend and understand that politicians refuse to listen to the security authorities' repeated annual warning." Meanwhile, Ruter's CEO, Bernd Reitan Jensen, stated that the company is working with the Ministry of Transport and Communications to develop long-term cybersecurity measures to ensure buses can operate without network access when needed. According to an internal EU security report, over the past decade, China's market penetration in Europe's smart transportation, renewable energy, telecom, and appliance sectors has exceeded 40%, with most of these products featuring internet connectivity. Experts warn that if these devices are used for intelligence purposes, Europe's infrastructure could be vulnerable to remote control and data leaks. From the UK's smart appliances to Norway's electric buses, global incidents are revealing a common trend. Chinese-made smart products are not just consumer tech, but part of a massive data collection system. These items may look like ordinary appliances, vehicles, or surveillance devices, but they could also be acting as data nodes, sending sensitive information like voice, images, location, and behavioral patterns back to China. Governments across Europe and Asia are beginning to realize the seriousness of the issue and are establishing new regulatory frameworks to prevent foreign powers from infiltrating their infrastructure. The UK's upcoming data regulations, Norway and Denmark's electric bus safety reviews, and the surveillance device bans in South Korea and Taiwan are all signs of this growing concern. But this tech sovereignty war is only just beginning. With the rise of artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and electrification, more and more products will come with sensors and connectivity. Whoever controls the data behind these devices will wield significant influence over individuals, societies, and even entire nations. As Chinese companies dominate the global market and remain subject to China's intelligence law, this tech penetration isn't just about business competition. It's an extension of national security and sovereignty defense. In the future, consumers may need to reconsider what "made in China" really means. It could symbolize not just low prices and advanced technology, but also the erosion of personal privacy and the weakening of national security. For governments, striking a balance between maintaining open markets and building secure firewalls will become a critical challenge in 21st century tech governance. The terrifying reality behind Made in China isn't limited to just high-tech gadgets. The story we're about to share may sound like entertainment news, but it could hide something far more chilling. You might remember back in August when 62-year-old martial arts superstar Jet Li posted a photo of himself lying in a hospital bed. His face looked pale, gaunt, and his eyes sunken, showing the fatigue he couldn't hide. Lying there, he humorously joked, saying, "My hardware is broken, time for a factory repair." Doctors diagnosed him with hyperthyroidism and heart strain, and he was scheduled for benign tumor removal surgery. At that point, he could barely walk without help, even needing a wheelchair. Media outlets were quick to report, dubbing it the curtain call of a star. Some even claimed that Li had already discussed his final arrangements with his family. But just 2 months later, Li was practically a new person, completely revived. In October, he released several videos, dancing on the streets to music, throwing punches with vigor, and moving with incredible energy. In one video, he's seen in a garden, moving like the wind, as if 20 years of age had vanished. This miraculous recovery sent the internet into a frenzy. Was it truly a recovery, or was there something else going on behind the scenes? Soon, rumors began to swirl about body parts replacement. In early November, Li appeared in a video to clear up the rumors himself. Filming in his garden, he deliberately focused the camera on his chest and neck. He slowly removed his shirt with calm, natural movements and said, "Rumors can be frightening, but please think for yourself." He then jumped into a pool, making a splash as if to erase all the rumors with one big motion. What should have been a clever PR move, however, ended up backfiring. After the video was posted, internet sleuths, now transformed into amateur detectives, began analyzing it frame by frame. Some pointed out how unnaturally smooth his skin looked with muscle lines that resembled silicone. Others zoomed in and claimed to spot a seam line on his wrist. One blogger, claiming to have worked in special effects, said, "This is a common synthetic skin bodysuit used for special effects in movies." Although official reports indicated that Li had undergone a minimally invasive radiofrequency ablation surgery in mid-August, which should leave no visible scars, medical experts noted that even such a procedure usually leaves a small mark. Yet in Li's video, his neck looked as smooth as a newborn's skin, with not a trace of any incision. One comment said, "This kind of made-in-China surgery is so advanced it sends chills down your spine." Let's give the benefit of the doubt and assume the surgery was flawless, without a single mark. But how does a man who could barely walk just 2 months ago suddenly bounce back to full energy, walking with ease and moving with the vitality of someone half his age? Is Jet Li's recovery a miracle, or does it hide a secret too dark to reveal? And who, exactly, is most terrified of the truth being exposed and is desperately trying to cover it up? While people were busy speculating about Jet Li's possible cover-up, a shocking display of fake reality took place at the Shenyang Expo Park in northeast China. A video surfaced showing park staff with pink spray paint touching up the mysterious grass with a fresh coat of color. What was once a patch of dull yellow grass transformed into a dreamy pinkish-purple hue. Two tourists, laughing, commented, "Did the paint fade off?" The video quickly went viral, sparking an online uproar. When questioned about the deception, the park staff didn't even try to hide it. They openly admitted that the coloring was done to ensure visitors get the best photos. They went on to explain that every plant was real before being sprayed. No fake plastic grass here. The paint dries in just 10 minutes, so it won't stain your clothes. In northeast China, these plants can't survive the winter, so we'll plant new pink grass next year. No worries about the paint affecting their growth. Their tone was as casual as could be. After all, they argued, without the paint, the photos wouldn't look as pretty for the visitors. Can you believe it? They practically made lying an art form. It's as though they thought this kind of thing was totally normal. While the Shenyang Expo Park is offering a 50% discount on tickets from November 1st, just 25 yuan, about $3.50 US, imagine the frustration of paying to see fake romance. In a country where moral integrity sometimes seems lacking, some forms of deception may only cost you 25 yuan, but other kinds of fake actions can be far more sinister. Sometimes they could cost you everything. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share with your friends. See you in the next episode. Bye!
Apparently, China's back in the headlines for something not so festive this time. AIDS. Yep, the topic everyone pretends doesn't exist has suddenly become impossible to ignore again. According to the latest official data, and you know how those numbers tend to come with creative editing, Sichuan tops the chart with about 175,000 HIV cases, followed by Guangxi, Chongqing, Yunnan, Guizhou, and Xinjiang. That whole southwest belt is now basically China's red zone. Meanwhile, eastern and northern provinces like Shandong, Hebei, and Tibet claim to have relatively low infection rates. Although experts and internet users aren't buying it, saying those numbers are probably just the tip of the iceberg. Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, China CDC, says as of the second quarter of 2024, there are around 1.33 million known cases. But with untested and undiagnosed people included, it could be over 1.8 million. That's roughly one person out of every 1,000. So statistically, someone on your subway car might already be carrying the virus. What's really worrying? The infection trend looks like a seesaw. Young students on one side, middle-aged men on the other. The CDC points out that sex has become the main way the virus spreads, accounting for over 98% of cases. About 70% of that is between men and women, and infections among men over 50 are steadily rising, becoming a surprising new driver of the epidemic. Young people are facing serious infection risks too. According to the Blue Book of Reproductive Health of Chinese Youth, there were 3,010 reported HIV cases among students and young adults aged 15 to 24, and the numbers are still rising. Experts say most of these infections come through sexual contact, with about 65% from male-to-male sex and over 30% from heterosexual contact. One doctor from Zhengzhou's Sixth People's Hospital admitted that he's seeing more and more young patients in his clinic. He said, some are middle or high school students with excellent grades who sneak in for testing and break down crying once they find out they're infected. The youngest patient was just 13 years old. A gynecologist at an affiliated hospital of Shandong First Medical University, Dr. Liu Yan, warned on Chinese TikTok, HIV is everywhere. You might even have someone infected right next to you. She pointed out that China's HIV cases surpassed 1.2 million back in 2022. That's roughly one infected person for every 1,200 people, approaching levels seen in some African countries. The Zhejiang Provincial CDC also warned that right after the Chinese New Year, HIV consultation calls spiked to 2 or 3 times the normal volume in just 2 days. Experts remind us, HIV still has no cure, no vaccine, and it's quietly spreading in ways many people can't see. But in China, HIV isn't just a public health problem. It's also a social and political issue. Many argue that decades of moral decay and corruption among officials have fueled the epidemic. Recent scandals make this painfully clear. In April, Party Secretary of Yingjing County in Sichuan, Gu Yujun, was placed under Shuanggui investigation, a disciplinary process used by the CCP to investigate officials suspected of corruption or wrongdoing. Reports surfaced that he was HIV positive. During questioning, he admitted to sexual relations with 18 women. As a result, over 1,000 women in the county were forced to get tested, and multiple infections were confirmed. Although authorities quickly tried to bury the story, online chatter exploded. Later in November, after a DUI arrest, the director of education in Bali City, Guangxi, also tested HIV positive. Suddenly, dozens of young female teachers across the city were rushed for testing, with rumors suggesting the impact reached over 100 people. Local officials scrambled to debunk the news overnight, but most people saw it as a routine cover-up. Many CCP officials have long indulged in gambling, drinking, and keeping mistresses, making promiscuity almost a part of the system. Media reports show over 95% of fallen officials had mistress issues. Corruption and shady hookups in official circles have already seeped into schools, hospitals, and businesses. What's even more shocking is how this trend seems to trickle down to everyday society, ranging from teachers misbehaving with students, to college students turning to sex work, from officials' lavish feasts to society shrugging and saying, don't shame the prostitute, shame the poor. Basically, it's a moral slip and slide, and when power, money, and lust get all tangled up, the spread of sexually transmitted diseases and HIV is pretty much guaranteed. Recently, yet another electric car in mainland China spontaneously caught fire, sparking widespread attention and ridicule. The star of this drama was a Lenovo-branded EV parked by the roadside when suddenly it burst into flames and was eventually engulfed in a blaze, leaving behind only a charred frame. The shocking part? Online rumors say the manufacturer, instead of admitting a product safety flaw, blamed the car owner for charging with bad electricity, causing the fire. This excuse immediately triggered a wave of online mockery, with internet users dubbing it a new peak in blame shifting and sarcastically commenting, "Never knew electricity could be good or bad." Videos show the vehicle was completely normal before the fire, when suddenly flames shot out from under the car. Within just 10 seconds, the fire spread rapidly, engulfing the vehicle. Luckily, the driver and passengers escaped unharmed. Yet when the public expected Lenovo to provide a reasonable explanation, the so-called bad electricity excuse emerged. Internet users flooded the comments with jokes. Did someone sprinkle sand in the electricity? Should we launch organic electricity or pollution-free electricity? A staff member from the state grid pointed out that electricity cannot inherently be good or bad. Once it enters the battery system, its source no longer matters. Even voltage fluctuations during charging would not cause a vehicle to spontaneously combust. If a car suddenly catches fire while operating normally, it is far more likely due to battery design flaws, heat dissipation failure, or errors in the battery management system. Nonetheless, Lenovo and some media reportedly organized a group of experts and online supporters to spread the bad electricity theory. Some claimed that certain charging stations had irregular sources, impure voltage, or even too many impurities. One internet user responded, "Solar power from Xinjiang, too sandy. Hydropower from Three Gorges, too weedy. Coastal nuclear power, too polluted. Wind power from the mountains, too foggy. Coal power, too many impurities." Some even joked that the concept of bad electricity is worthy of a Guinness World Record. In recent years, quality and safety issues in Chinese EVs have appeared frequently. From NIO, XPeng, Li Auto, to now Lenovo, all brands have experienced spontaneous combustion, explosions, or runaway incidents. Public data shows that over 3,000 EV fires occur in China each year, and many affected models are still on sale. Experts point out that the root causes are cost-cutting and weak safety regulation. In pursuit of sales and so-called domestic tech breakthroughs, many manufacturers skimp on battery module design, insulation, and software controls. Once a vehicle undergoes long-term charging and discharging or operates in high temperatures, thermal runaway can easily occur. However, Chinese authorities have long treated EV as a flagship industry of Made in China 2025, and to maintain the image of a tech powerhouse, negative news is often suppressed. Many self-combustion incidents are required to be handled quietly, and media outlets have reportedly been instructed not to report brand accidents. Car owners seeking justice often face evasion from manufacturers, pressure from authorities, or accusations of malicious hype. From blaming the driver to blaming the electricity, from software issues to environmental factors, Chinese EV companies always seem to find new excuses to avoid responsibility. One internet user sarcastically commented, "Next, are they going to say the fire was caused by incorrect oxygen content in the air?" In this ridiculous PR circus, the biggest victims are ordinary consumers. They pay real money for domestic EVs, only to bear the cost of technical failures and wild excuses. Last Saturday night, October 25th, a so-called city landmark in Shangqiu, Henan, the Sun Moon River Scenic Bridge, almost became a deadly bridge. Sections of the railing that were supposed to be toughened safety glass had been replaced with ridiculously thin, transparent plastic sheets, only 2 millimeters thick, yellowed and aged, offering zero protection. There were no warning signs nearby, causing a 29-year-old man under the pseudonym Xiao Song to fall from the bridge and suffer fractures all over his body. Reports say that around 10 p.m., he was walking alone on the bridge, enjoying the night view while waiting for friends. Suddenly, his foot slipped and he tumbled over the railing, crashing onto the riverbank 7 meters below. He sustained at least 15 fractures, including the femur, hip, shoulder blade, thoracic vertebrae, and ribs, along with a collapsed lung and lung contusion. Doctors say he will need multiple surgeries and may permanently lose some working ability. Xiao Song's family rushed to the scene and could hardly believe their eyes. The railings looked smooth and transparent, seemingly as sturdy as glass from afar. But up close, the plastic sheets were so soft they bent easily. They provided absolutely no safety protection. What made the victim and internet users even more furious was that after the accident, the scenic area, Urban Management Bureau, and municipal office all started playing ping pong with responsibility. The scenic area said the bridge wasn't their responsibility. The construction company claimed they just built a bridge and it should be the Urban Management Bureau. The Bureau said it hadn't been handed over yet and that it should be handled by the construction unit, namely the Municipal Engineering Company. In the end, no one wanted to take responsibility. Xiao Song's sister tearfully said her brother is the family's backbone, honest and hardworking, and has never caused trouble. Now, after this accident, the family scraped together just over 30,000 yuan, equivalent to about 4,200 US dollars for treatment, but everyone said, not our problem. She couldn't understand how a so-called city landmark could have such a massive safety flaw, and who secretly replaced the glass with plastic. On Wednesday morning, she returned to the site to film. Broken plastic shards were still scattered on the ground, and the gap was empty. There wasn't even a warning sign. People and vehicles passed by, with some leaning on the railing to take selfies. At that moment, she shivered. If someone else mistakes it for real glass and leans on it, the consequences could be catastrophic. The Sun Moon River Bridge was originally part of the Shangqiu City Sun Moon River project, spanning 7.2 kilometers with 14 bridges, combining flood control, leisure, and sightseeing. Officials once confidently claimed it would become a city landmark. Now, in just 3 years, the glass has been downgraded to plastic patches. From the quality of construction to the way maintenance is handled, this reveals not only sloppy workmanship, but also a complete lack of oversight. Local media tried calling the municipal corporation, but no one answered. Shockingly, residents had reported broken glass in June, and the authorities even admitted they had notified the municipal corporation, but 4 months later, nothing was done. If it weren't for Xiao Song's accident, this trap on the bridge might have remained hidden. In many cities across China, the no one's responsible situation is all too common, from collapsed sidewalks to loose building facades, and now plastic railings. Each accident injures someone while authorities shift the blame. Behind the shiny landmark projects often lurk terrifying traps, and government departments frequently turn a blind eye, leaving the public to pay with their safety.